Welcome. I'm John Hawks with Quilt-EZ. We've got the opportunity today to interview Teajuana from TeaQuilts. We've got some questions for her to get to know her and her business, TeaQuilts, much better. So I've got Lindsay here with me and Tiana. They'll be asking the questions, and I hope you'll enjoy the session.
What interested you to become a quilter?
Around the age of 5, I used to visit my family in Alabama, and I had a great aunt that quilted. And so I used to follow her around in the South. Kids had a place. You don't ask questions. You don't talk to adults unless you're spoken to. But I would follow her around until she actually started doing her quilting for the day. And she made very colorful quilts made from old clothing. And then she would sometimes take older quilts that were worn and use those on the inside as batting. So I was just always in love with the colorful quilts that she made.
Tell us about TeaQuilts. Why did you start producing YouTube videos?
I started TeaQuilts basically for myself as a video journal or online journal. I started my website where I could just upload pictures, and I was just sharing what I was doing. And since I was so prolific, instead of doing it in writing or having a book, I decided I would do that online. That led me into somebody finding that website and asking me to be an instructor in a sewing vac in my area. And then from there, I had people ask me to start doing lectures at their quilt guilds. And so that's how I got popular in the Missouri, Kansas, and Illinois area. And then people were asking me the same questions, like, number one, what type of sewing machine do you have or do you sew on? And, people, it doesn't matter what machine you're using, it's how you're using it and how you're utilizing it. And so I started my YouTube channel just to answer those basic questions that I got asked a lot, just to keep from answering those questions repetitively.
How many YouTube videos have you produced?
I checked, and I have actually uploaded 486 videos, and that doesn't include my live chats that I do on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, or my live sewing chats that I do on Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for 2 hours.
How long have you been doing quilt tops?
I would say I've been doing quilt tops from the time I started quilting, which is in 1994, because if you make the quilt top and you want it into a quilt, you've got to do the quilting. But I was doing it on my domestic sewing machines. And then I'd say about 20 years ago, one of my girlfriends, she's got a long arm machine. And so she allowed me to use her machine to long arm quilt some of my quilts.
What type and design or pattern of tops are your favorite?
If I had to pick a genre, I would say that it is scrap quilts, and very colorful scrap quilts with lots of fabrics. A lot of people use like pre-cuts for their scrap quilts, and I like the old-fashioned way of just using your true scraps from all projects for scrap quilts. The more colorful, the better.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Yeah, those are fun. How long have you had a long arm?
I purchased my long arm in 2015, but it was delivered in 2016. And I've had a lot of experience with it, so it wasn't a big scare for me, something I was looking forward to.
What is your favorite type of fabric?
My favorite fabric is the 100% quilter's cotton, but I'd have to say from a brand, I would say that it is Fossil Fern. They came out many years ago, and then it is now something that is being reproduced, and they're also making it in wide backs. And then from there, I would say I like grunge as well.
What are your favorite quilting designs?
My favorite quilting designs would be edge to edge, and a lot of people get that confused with border to border designs, and I like to make the difference in that an edge to edge will have some sort of nesting going on in the design, whereas a border to border is more straight across. I like where you can't tell where the panto row starts and ends, so edge to edge designs.
Did you or do you use templates and a stylus?
I own a stylus. I've never used it. And I don't think I ever will, and that's because I got the computerization with the Butler robot system, and I will talk about that later. But for its templates, I do use some templates, but the ones I use the most are my ones that are marking centers on my blocks and or when I'm doing diagonal cross hatching.
How long have you had an automated long arm?
I got my automation in 2020, and so I'm a little over a year and a half ago, and it is the best thing that has ever happened.
What is your favorite part about owning a Butler robot?
The fact that it's automation and that I can do other things. It also helps where if you're not perfect in quilting a particular design out and you have that design digital, then it makes it so that it's a lot easier for you to get it into that position as well as the spacing into that position.
What is your favorite feature on the Butler?
That would be nesting. Nesting is one of those things that since I like to do edge to edge, that's real important. And I like that when I do nest that I have the opportunity of telling it how close I want those rows to be. So that would be my favorite feature.
What is your most used feature on the Butler?
That would still go back into nesting. But if you're looking at how you use a robotic system, you are having to set up your designs and do all of those things to get it to that point. And nesting is just one of those things you're going to do with every rotation. But you've got so many other great features, like the fact that you can crop your sides and the layout where I can put a pattern in a particular position. I really like those features, but just the system overall is great.
What Butler feature saves you the most time?
The actual system itself saves me time because I am multitasking while I'm quilting. I have my office across over there, and so while it's stitching, I can be doing some other work since I'm a one-person shop here.
What advice can you give quilters that have a long arm that might be considering automation?
I would say do your homework. I did a lot of research before I purchased my Butler robotic system. I test drove a lot of them, and what I found for the price point and what I got very many features, and the system actually works great.
One last question. Is that a new display on your long arm?
Oh, yes, it is. And I just recently got that, and I really like the display. Quite a few features, things that I like. Number one is that you can use a standard USB, so you don't have to buy the adapter to put into that we had to use for the old tablet. Also, I feel the screen is much brighter and sharper, and it's easier for me to import my designs. It's easier for me to switch from the programming of the tablet back into my actual program of the perfect stitch. So I think it's great. I haven't done that much with it other than just quilting my quilt tops, but the things that I've done, to me, seems like I'm easier to maneuver, to move around into the software. So I love it. You all did a great job.
Well,
Okay, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I think we learned a lot about Teajuana and TeaQuilts. We really appreciate your time. We definitely appreciate you being a beta tester for us. Hope you're enjoying the display as much as you say. And please plug one more time. You mentioned on here that you have some online live times that you do. What time are those?
My lives are Tuesday at 7 p.m. I go for 1 hour. That's Central Standard Time. And then on Saturdays, I do a live sew and chat. That's from 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for 2 hours.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we appreciate you being an educator for us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate Butler's. Just one more thing, because I wasn't asked, but you all have great customer service, and I just think that people need to know that as well. People are what make a company, and I just enjoy working with you guys. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you.
yes, thank you.
Thanks.